You have seen the symbol. It is tattooed on skin, printed on currency, hung on walls as a talisman of protection. The eye. A single, stylized and all-knowing gaze that has been passed down through the millennia as a beacon of divine power and benevolent oversight. You have been taught that this is the Eye of Ra, the watchful sun god, the ultimate symbol of light, life, and spiritual illumination. And that is the first and most effective lie. The truth is far more complex and far more dangerous. There were never one, but two eyes, and they were at war. One was a weapon of surveillance, an instrument of absolute control, a tool of a wounded and paranoid god. The other was a gateway to inner sovereignty, a biological stargate, a map to the liberation of the human soul. One was the Eye of Ra. The other was the Eye of Horus. And the greatest act of spiritual warfare ever committed on this planet was when the priesthood of the solar cult deliberately and systematically fused the two in the minds of humanity, convincing you to worship the warden and forget the key. The system you live in is an empire built on the power of the outward gaze. It is a world of cameras, of screens, of social media, of constant external validation and judgment. It is a world that demands you perform for an unseen audience, that you curate your life for the approval of 1,000 disembodied eyes. This is not a modern invention. It is the final technological perfection of the doctrine of Ra. It is the philosophy of the external eye made manifest. The true path to inner illumination was never about being seen by a god. It was about learning to see like one. And that is the path of the inner eye, the Eye of Horus, the path that Thoth, the great Tehuti, fought to preserve. The symbol you have been taught to revere is not a guide to your enlightenment. It is the logo of your prison. And to decode its true meaning is to begin the process of a jailbreak, not from a physical cell, but from a cage of perception that has been built around your mind for 5,000 years. This is not a lesson in mythology. This is a manual on how to reclaim your sight. The two eyes represent the two primordial, warring philosophies of soul ascension. They are the logos of the two paths, the path of absorption and the path of integration. The Eye of Ra is the eye of the sun. It is absolute. It is singular. It shines its light outward upon everything, seeing all, judging all, dominating all. It is the symbol of a consciousness that believes it is the one and only source. Its illumination is not gentle. It is a harsh, interrogating glare. It is the light that bleaches all color, that erases all shadows, that demands all things conform to its singular, monolithic truth. To align with the Eye of Ra is to align with the path of the external God. It is to accept that you are a creation, a subject, a thing to be watched. Your purpose in this model is to be a perfect reflection of Ra's light, to purify yourself of your own unique, individual darkness until you are worthy of being reabsorbed into the solar whole. It is the path of the worshipper, a path that ends in the blissful annihilation of the self. The Eye of Horus is the opposite. It is the eye of the star, the moon, the inner darkness. Its gaze is not outward, but inward. It does not seek to dominate the world, but to understand the self. It is the symbol of the initiate, the seeker, the alchemist. Its illumination is not a blinding glare, but a subtle, silvery light, the light of intuition, of gnosis, of the soul itself. This is the eye that was wounded and then healed, the eye that has looked upon its own fragmentation and has learned to make itself whole again. It is the symbol of a consciousness that knows it is a unique and sovereign spark of the divine, not a lost fragment of a distant sun. To align with the Eye of Horus is to align with the path of Tehuti. It is to accept that you are a co-creator, an architect, a being on a journey of perfecting your own unique divinity. It is the path that ends not in absorption, but in ascension, not in the dissolution of the self, but in the crystallization of the soul into an eternal, indestructible star in its own right. The entire history of esoteric and exoteric religion is the story of the conflict between these two eyes. The solar cult of Ra, with its rigid hierarchies, its demand for absolute obedience, and its focus on a single male sun god, was the political and spiritual machine created to enforce the philosophy of the external eye. The mystery schools of Thoth, with their focus on self-knowledge, on the mastery of consciousness, and on the integration of light and dark, were the secret societies that sought to preserve the path of the inner eye. The war was fought with symbols, with rituals, and with the very architecture of temples. But the final, winning blow was a masterpiece of psychological warfare. The priests of Ra could not erase the powerful and beloved symbol of the Eye of Horus. So they co-opted it, they stole it. They began to use the two symbols interchangeably to slowly and deliberately blur the lines in the minds of the masses, until the memory of the inner eye, the sovereign eye, was completely subsumed by the image of the outer, judging eye of the state. They convinced you that the all-seeing eye of the pyramid was the same as the eye in your own soul. And in that confusion, you forgot how to open the one that truly mattered. You forgot how to see for yourself. The power of the Eye of Ra is the power of pure, focused, and weaponized attention. It is the science of the observer effect, amplified to a cosmic scale. In the hands of Ra and his priesthood, this was not a passive act of watching. It was an active force of creation and destruction. The myth of the Eye of Ra being sent down to punish humanity is a literal description of this technology in action. The eye was not a metaphor. It was a lens. The high priests, acting as a collective, could focus the consciousness of Ra himself, a being of immense solar power, through a physical or energetic lens and project it as a coherent beam of energy. This beam was not light in the conventional sense. It was a beam of pure, focused observation. And as quantum science is beginning to rediscover, observation collapses potentiality into actuality. To be seen by the Eye of Ra was to have your reality defined, locked, and judged by the will of the solar god. This is the hidden science behind the goddess Sekhmet. She was not just a mythological figure. She was the living embodiment of the Eye of Ra's destructive capacity. When the priesthood projected Ra's rage and judgment upon the world, that focused, coherent, and malevolent observation took on a life of its own. It precipitated into the physical and astral planes as a conscious, predatory thought form, the lioness goddess. She was literally a sentient weapon of mass psychic destruction powered by the sun. The story of her being pacified by red beer is a coded reference to the countermeasures taken by the Thothian priests, who flooded the planetary grid with a soporific lunar frequency to calm the solar rage. They could not destroy the eye. They could only put it to sleep. The Eye of Ra is, therefore, a symbol of divine intervention in its most terrifying form. It is the power to manifest a reality, to enforce a timeline, and to unmake anything that does not conform to the will of the observer. This same principle was used for control. The symbol of the Eye of Ra was placed everywhere in Egyptian society, on temples, on amulets, on the thrones of pharaohs. This was not decoration. It was a constant, low-level broadcast of its frequency. It was a form of mass psychological conditioning, a perpetual reminder to the populace that they were being watched. not just by the priests or the pharaoh's guards, but by the god himself. The symbol acted as a psychic panopticon, a prison in which the inmates police themselves because they believe they are under constant divine surveillance. This created a culture of conformity, of obedience, of a fear so deep and so pervasive that it became normalized. The illumination offered by the Eye of Ra was not the light of wisdom, it was the spotlight of an interrogation chamber. It was the light that exposes, that judges, and that leaves no room for shadows. And in a reality where all growth and all sovereignty are born in the secret, fertile darkness of the individual soul. This was a program of mass spiritual sterilization. Contrast this with the Eye of Horus. Its power is not projective, it is receptive. It is not the power to control the external world, but the power to perfectly perceive its inner workings. The Eye of Horus is the organ of gnosis, of direct, intuitive knowing. It is the biological and energetic third eye, the pineal gland, the dormant stargate in the center of the human brain. To open the Eye of Horus is not to become a weapon, it is to become a mirror. A mirror that can see the truth behind all illusions. A person with an open inner eye can see the energetic signatures of others. They can perceive the intent behind the words. They can see the thought forms, the egregores, the hidden forces that are manipulating the masses. They can no longer be lied to. They can no longer be controlled. And that is why the Ra program was so utterly terrified of it. The entire solar cult was a system of grand illusion, and the Eye of Horus was the one thing that could see through it. The war between Ra and Horus was a war between propaganda and truth, between the god who demanded belief and the god who offered sight. And the first casualty of that war was your memory of your own inner vision. The myth of the wounding of the Eye of Horus is not a story of defeat. It is an instruction manual. It is a coded, alchemical blueprint for how to heal your own suppressed inner vision. The story goes that in his battle with his uncle Set, the embodiment of the chaotic, unbalanced force co-opted by the Ra program, Horus's left eye, the lunar eye of intuition, was gouged out, shattered into 6 pieces, and thrown into the darkness. This is a precise, symbolic description of what happened to human consciousness after the fall of Atlantis and the rise of the solar tyranny. Our inner vision, our intuitive, psychic sense, was violently torn from us. It was shattered into fragments, and we were plunged into the darkness of a purely material reality. The 6 pieces that the eye was shattered into correspond to the 5 physical senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, and the 6th, thought. This is a crucial part of the code. It is telling you that your higher, intuitive sense was not destroyed. It was fragmented and scattered among your lower, physical senses. You are now living in a world where you believe that reality is only what you can see, hear, touch, taste, smell, and think about logically. You have forgotten that these are just the broken shards of a much greater unified sense. You are trying to understand the cosmos by looking at it through the cracked pieces of a shattered mirror. The myth then says that it was Thoth, the great Tehuti, the master of wisdom and balance, who entered the darkness of the Duat to search for the fragments. He found them one by one, and using his magic, he reassembled them, healing the eye and making it whole again. The restored eye was called the Wadjet, the Whole One. This is not a story about the gods. It is a set of instructions for you. To heal your own Eye of Horus, you must first become Thoth. You must take on the role of the great architect of your own consciousness. You must be willing to journey into the darkness of your own inner world, your personal duat, to find the lost pieces of yourself. This is the work of shadow integration, the path guided by Anubis. You must face the traumas, the fears, the limiting beliefs that are holding the fragments of your perception hostage. Then, you must begin the alchemical work of reassembly. This is not about rejecting your physical senses. That is a common spiritual trap. It is about integrating them. You must learn to use your senses not as the final arbiters of reality, but as doorways to a deeper perception. You must learn to listen not just to the sounds, but to the silence between them. You must learn to look not just at the forms, but at the energy that animates them. You must learn to feel not just the surface of things, but the vibrational truth beneath them. This process of integration is the true meaning of illumination. It is the process of bringing the light of your conscious awareness to the fragmented pieces of your own perception and making them whole again. As you do this, you are healing the wound in your own third eye. You are preparing the biological and energetic hardware for its reactivation. The healing is completed by the introduction of a seventh unifying element, a piece that was not a part of the original 6 fragments. This is the magic of Thoth. It is the principle of gnosis itself. It is the introduction of a new kind of sense, the sense of the soul, which acts as the thread that stitches the other 6 back together into a unified, coherent whole. This is the birth of true intuition. It is not a vague gut feeling. It is a precise, clear, and unwavering perception of the truth, a sense that is more real and more reliable than any of the physical senses. A person who has healed their Eye of Horus no longer believes in the truth. They see it. And that is a power that the Eye of Ra, with all its external dominating force, can never comprehend and can never control. The system you live in is a direct and brutal assault on the Eye of Horus. The war against your inner vision is not metaphorical. It is physical, chemical, and psychological. The first and most direct line of attack is the pineal gland itself. This tiny crystalline structure in the center of your brain, the physical organ of the third eye, is being systematically targeted. The introduction of fluoride into the water supply, a neurotoxin that has been proven to accumulate in and calcify the pineal gland, is not an accident of public health policy. It is an act of spiritual warfare. It is a chemical lobotomy designed to turn the sensitive, crystalline antenna in your brain into a piece of inert, useless bone. They are not just preventing tooth decay. They are enforcing a state of psychic blindness. The heavy metals in the air, the endocrine disruptors in our food and plastic, all of these toxins have an affinity for this gland, hardening the very window through which your soul is meant to look. The second assault is energetic. The Eye of Horus opens in a state of inner silence and coherence. The modern world is a deafening scream of chaotic, dissonant frequencies designed to keep you in a state of perpetual agitation. The constant, low-level anxiety produced by the 24-hour news cycle, the engineered outrage of social media, the addictive, dopamine-driven loops of your smartphone. This is not just distraction. It is a sonic and psychic weapon. It is designed to keep your own energy field so scrambled, so full of static, that the subtle, clear signal of your own inner eye cannot get through. A mind that is never silent can never see. An emotional body that is constantly being hijacked by external triggers can never achieve the state of sovereign peace needed to perceive the truth. The third assault is conceptual. It is the religion of scientific materialism. You have been relentlessly conditioned to believe that the only thing that is real is that which can be measured, quantified, and proven in a laboratory. Consciousness is dismissed as an epiphenomenon of the brain. The soul is a poetic metaphor. The unseen worlds are the stuff of fantasy and delusion. This is the ultimate inversion of the truth. It is a belief system designed to convince you that your most powerful and primary tool of perception, your own consciousness, is the least reliable. They have taught you to trust the machine and to doubt the ghost within it. They have made you a foreigner in your own inner world, afraid of your own intuition, ashamed of your own spiritual experiences. To speak of these things in the real world is to risk being labeled as insane. This is how they guard the prison, not with walls, but with ridicule. To begin the work of decoding and reactivating your own Eye of Horus is therefore to declare a quiet, personal war against this entire system. You must become a counterintelligence agent in your own life. You must start by detoxifying your vessel. You must consciously remove the poisons from your water, your food, your environment that are targeting your biology. You must reclaim your sonic and energetic sovereignty. You must curate your attention as if it were your most sacred resource. Turn off the noise. Seek the silence. And in that silence, you must face the psychological programming. You must question every single thing you have been taught to believe about the nature of reality. You must be willing to become a heretic in the church of materialism. You must be willing to trust the data of your own direct experience over the dogma of the so-called experts. This is the path of the outlaw, the path of the initiate. It is the path of taking back your own mind, your own body, and your own sight. The Eye of Ra watches you. The Eye of Horus watches from you. The entire game is to convince you to keep looking for the watcher on the outside, so you never discover the seer on the inside. To live with an open Eye of Horus is to live in a completely different reality than the one inhabited by the sleeping masses. It is not an escape from the world. It is a deeper immersion into its true nature. But this is not the blissful, peaceful state that the New Age fantasies promise. It is a state of terrifying and beautiful clarity, and it comes with a profound responsibility. The first thing you will notice is the dissolution of illusion. The world that once seemed so solid, so real, so absolute, will begin to reveal itself for what it is, a shimmering, fluid, and often chaotic dance of energy. You will begin to see the matrix. You will see the energetic signatures of people, of places, of ideas. You will see the intent behind the words, the fear behind the anger, the wound behind the ego. You will see the invisible threads of connection and influence that weave the tapestry of our shared reality. You can no longer be lied to because you can feel the frequency of a lie. You can no longer be manipulated because you can see the puppet strings. This is not an easy way to live. It can be profoundly lonely. You will be sitting in a room with people, participating in a conversation, but you will be perceiving a level of reality to which they are completely blind. You will see the pain they are hiding. You will see the programs they are running, and you will be faced with the constant, difficult choice of how to navigate this without judgment, without arrogance, and without a despair that can break your heart. This is the burden of the seer. It is the wound that Horus willingly accepted. To see the truth is to also see the depth of the world's suffering and the power of its illusions. But this sight also brings with it a new kind of power. It is not the power to control, but the power to transmute. Your own coherent, clear gaze, the frequency of your open Eye of Horus, becomes a force in itself. When you look upon a person or a situation not with the judging Eye of Ra, but with the clear, compassionate, and unwavering Eye of Horus. You are sending a powerful signal into the field. You are broadcasting a frequency of truth that can act as a tuning fork for others. Your presence becomes a quiet, passive form of alchemy. You do not need to speak. Your very being becomes a transmission of clarity that can help to awaken the dormant eye in others. You also become a master of your own reality. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, because you can see the energetic patterns that are creating the circumstances. You can see a negative outcome forming in the field of probability long before it manifests. And you can make the subtle, precise choices in the present to shift the timeline. This is not about prediction. It is about perception. You are no longer navigating by the crude map of the five senses. You are navigating by the high-resolution satellite imagery of the soul. You see the currents, the weather patterns, the hidden obstacles of the energetic world, and you can chart your course accordingly. This is the true meaning of sovereignty. It is the ability to be the conscious, creative force in your own life, not in a way that is selfish, but in a way that is in perfect harmony with the greater cosmic good, because you can now perceive what that good truly is. The system of Ra is a system of reaction. The path of Horus is a path of response. You are no longer a pawn being moved by hidden forces. You are a player who can see the entire board. This is the illumination that is your birthright. It is not a gift that is given to you by an external god. It is a faculty of your own consciousness that you must choose to heal, to activate, and to master. The Eye of Ra offers you power in the world, the power to dominate, to control, to be a king in a prison. The Eye of Horus offers you power over the world, the power to see it for the illusion that it is, and in that seeing, to be free. The final choice is a simple one. Do you want to be the one who is watched, or do you want to be the one who sees? The final decoding is not of a symbol, but of a choice. The two eyes are not just ancient, warring philosophies. They are a living, breathing question that is being presented to you in every moment of your life. Which eye are you looking through right now? Are you looking through the eye of the ego, the eye of judgment, the eye that sees a world of separation, of competition, of us versus them? That is the Eye of Ra. It is the program of the wounded sun, the frequency that seeks to find fault in the world in order to feel secure in itself. Or are you looking through the eye of the soul, the eye of compassion, the eye that sees the interconnectedness of all things, the eye that looks for the light even in the deepest shadows? That is the Eye of Horus. It is the program of the healed wound, the frequency that seeks to create coherence, not to demand it. You are not one or the other. You are a being who has the capacity for both. The entire human experience is a journey of learning to choose which eye will be the master of your perception. The system is designed to keep you locked into the gaze of Ra. It feeds you a constant diet of fear, of outrage, of judgment. It trains you to be a critic of the world, a judge of your neighbor, and a merciless tyrant to yourself. Because a person who is trapped in the judgmental eye of Ra is a person who is predictable, who is controllable, and who is a reliable source of the low-frequency emotional energy upon which the system feeds. To choose to look through the Eye of Horus is a radical and continuous act of rebellion. It is to choose to see the world not as a battlefield, but as a classroom. To see every person not as a competitor, but as another version of yourself, walking their own unique path of remembering. It is to see your own challenges not as punishments, but as initiations. This is the guide to inner illumination. It is not a set of beliefs to be adopted. It is a mode of perception to be embodied. You begin by purifying the vessel. You continue by healing the wound, and you complete the work by consciously choosing how you will see. As you begin to consistently choose the gaze of Horus, your inner world will transform. The constant, anxious chatter of the ego will begin to quiet. The need for external validation will begin to dissolve, and a deep, unshakable peace will begin to rise from the core of your being. This is the birth of the Wadjet, the whole one. You are no longer a fragmented being at war with yourself. You are an integrated, sovereign consciousness. And from this place, you do not just see the world differently. You become a force that changes the world, just by the way you see it. This is the power that was stolen from you. The power of the sovereign gaze. The power to illuminate your own reality from within. The priests of Ra took the symbol of your inner eye and placed it on the top of their pyramids, turning it into an external symbol of their own power. They taught you to look up, to worship the eye on the stone, so you would never think to look inward and find the living one in your own soul. The time of that deception is over. The knowledge is returning. The choice is now conscious. Do not wait for the world to change. You are the one you have been waiting for. You are the eye of the storm. You are the light that can see in the dark. And the moment you fully claim that sight, the moment you choose to look upon all of life, and especially upon yourself, with the healed, compassionate, and unwavering gaze of the Wadjet, you cease to be a prisoner of this reality. You become its loving and powerful co-creator. The question is not, what do you believe? The question is, how do you choose to see? If this video resonated with you, let us know by commenting, I understood it.